everyone. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. My name is Ryan Howells. I'm a principal at Levitt Partners. Levitt Partners is a strategic healthcare intelligence and consulting firm that was founded by former Secretary Mike Levitt approximately 9 years ago. And among other things, in addition to doing strategic healthcare consulting, we also form alliances or collaboratives to try to solve really difficult problems in healthcare. And one of those we're going to be talking about today. It's called the CARIN Alliance. And along with my friend Ricky Bloomfield here from Apple, which I'm sure no one's here to see me, they're all here to see Ricky, which is totally fine. I'm totally okay with that. I'm going to give a brief introduction on the CARIN Alliance, what it is, what our purpose is, what we're trying to solve. And then Ricky's going to do a demo of the new Apple Health Kit functionality. And then we're going to move into a question and answer period towards the end. Sound good? All right, we got 30 minutes, so I'm going to go quickly. All right, we have two main ways of data exchange today. One is HIPAA-related data exchange. That's represented by the box at the top. That is a HIPAA-related data exchange. We have privacy and security policies that actually govern that, and there's a lot of fabulous companies out there that are trying to solve the problem of two covered entities exchanging data with each other. The other type of data exchange is the exchange that happens outside of HIPAA. It's through the Federal Trade Commission. That's who governs that type of data exchange. Anything that is not data exchange between two different covered entities is considered exchanged by the Federal Trade Commission. And that's where our friend, the consumer, comes in. This is the unhappy consumer, right, Dave? This is the unhappy consumer because of the fact that consumer doesn't have access to their data. They see some fabulous things happening up here with covered entities that are exchanging data between each other. But one of the problems that they have is that the consumer doesn't actually receive access to their own data. And so the consumer, raise your hand if you are a consumer. Thank you very much. Raise your hand if you've ever asked for your electronic medical records. Raise your hand if that was a nightmarish experience for you. Thank you. I'm glad you're all here. So we're trying to make that entire process easier. Rather than going to the basement of the HIM department and having them print out 500 pages of unstructured information that you cannot understand or even view in any remote way, shape, or form, we're trying to make this easier for the consumer to get electronic access to the data. For those of you who have been here all day and saw Administrator Verma's remarks this morning, pretty powerful stuff, right? The story about her husband and her husband actually collapsing in the Philadelphia airport. Unbelievable story about the fact that she wasn't able to get those medical records to the care provider in a readily producible way. But what's interesting is our consumer is going to be turning happy. And the reason that they turn happy, we do not have a graphics department here, so it's the way this goes, okay? There's a lot of fancy stuff around that we don't have access to, but the consumer becomes happy because now there is what's called the implementation of the consumer API. Based on MACRA and MIPS, all of these EHR vendors that are in these fabulous areas and these showcases, they're going to be shipping the actual API for consumers to gain access to their electronic health information, specifically just their CCDA information. And they'll be able to have that access by January 1st, 2019. It's mandated under the MIPS program. And according to Administrator Verma this morning, that date doesn't sound like it's moving anytime soon. So after January 1st, 2019, you can walk into any hospital or any provider in the country that's participating in the MIPS program and say, even before that you can say this, by the way, I'd like electronic access to my health information. And as a result, they can provide that to you on any application of your choice, whether it's Apple that we're going to hear about here in a moment, or whether it's any of the other PHR companies or other companies that would be able to aggregate data on behalf of the consumer themselves. Now, why is this type of data exchange important? There's three reasons why we feel this is going to fundamentally change the way that healthcare is going to be exchanging data in the future. Number one, this is a must-share situation, not a may-share situation. What do I mean by that? It means in HIPAA, two different covered entities that are competing. Ricky's going to talk about our North Carolina example, which we're excited about that. they're competing in a marketplace, do not have to share data with each other. That is an optional share. They do not have to do that. It's one of the reasons why sometimes it's a struggle for HIEs to get every single hospital in a given region into their HIE because it's a may share situation. This is a must share. When a patient invokes their individual right of access, that must be shared with the consumer. Now with the access to the customer API, the consumer API that's in place, they will receive that data on any application of their choice. Why is that important? Because if it's readily producible, hospitals need to actually provide that. And according to Administrator Verma today, that needs to be free. So that's a must-share situation. It's not a may-share. Number two, no legal agreements are in place. You will not have to go into your local hospital and sign a DIRSA in order to access your data. That's a good thing. You won't have to sign a business associate agreement to access your data. That's also a good thing. There is no legal agreement. Once the consumer says, I want my data, then the covered entity must provide that data in a readily producible form, and once the APIs are in place, that can be electronic. Number three, once the consumer receives access to that data then can be shared with anyone else, including their provider, or a third-party application provider, or anybody else that they want, a plan, a research company, and anybody else. They can sell their data. They can give it to Russia. Whatever they want. They can do anything they want with their data. Once they receive access to it, it's in the Federal Trade Commission land, meaning they can do whatever they want with that data. Now, some will say, well, what about privacy and security? Absolutely critically important. The difference being is we're allowing each individual consumer and person to be able to do with the data what they want. They can choose whether I take that data and never share it with a single human being, or whether I broadcast that on Facebook or Instagram. It's completely up to me at that particular point in time. So, we have formed this group called the CARIN Alliance. It was formed under the leadership of former Secretary Mike Leavitt. David Blumenthal, as many of you know, led the ONC for a while. David Brailer, who started that as well. Anish Chopra, who, if you've heard him speak, he's much more entertaining than I am. But he, former Chief Technology Officer under President Obama, to rapidly advance that ability for consumers and their authorized caregivers to easily get, use, and share their digital health information when, where, and how they want to achieve their goals. As a result of this group that we have actually created what we call the Consumer Directed Exchange Pledge. This is where the big drum roll happens. It is a series of 12 principles that we believe, again, in that land of non-HIPAA related data exchange, that we believe the industry should be following in order to be able to effectively secure the patient data outside of HIPAA. It's been signed by some of the largest organizations in the country, including Dartmouth, Cambia, Aetna, 23andMe, DaVita, Greenville Health System, Trinity, the Sequoia Project, and more. You can look at this afterwards as we do that, but we have a huge section, a huge group of companies that are focused specifically, and the American College of Surgeons, a huge group of companies that have signed this pledge that says, we believe in consumers getting access to the data, and these are the principles that we would like to follow. It very much signifies and follows along with Administrator Verma's remarks from earlier this morning. These are some of the participating organizations we have involved. We'd love your name to be up there. If you are a health provider, if you are a provider, if you are an application company that would like access to patient data on behalf of consumers, if you are a patient advocate, we have ePatient Dave up here, which is phenomenal, who is going to be involved in this effort as well. We want you to be involved in this effort. It is fundamentally going to be able to look at ways in which, beyond just business-to-business interchange, we now have business-to-consumer interchange. Mark's back here as well with Medicare Blue Button 2.0. That went live today. It's being live over the next few weeks. Consumers now have access to their claims data related to this amazing opportunity. Third-party apps can actually gain access to that via an API. Within the CARIN Alliance, we're looking at that from the commercial side. So when you heard Administrator Verma say today that we want all payer and clinical information given to the consumer, we believe in that as well. We've got a group of those health plan vendors, health plans, I should say, that were involved in the CARIN Alliance we're trying to look at ways in which they can actually release fire-specific services to the consumer in a meaningful way, so we can get all that clinical and payment data at the point of care to make different decisions on behalf of themselves and their family. 5 big questions we're focused on, and then we're going to give it to Ricky. Question number 1 that we're focused on trying to solve: how do we user-proof individuals outside of a portal using open standards? How many of you are familiar with Smart on Fire? Raise your hand. Fabulous. That's awesome. We love Smart on Fire. We love Josh Mandel. We love everything that they're doing and support it 100%. We're grateful for all the work that they've done, because without that, we'd not be able to hook up apps into the actual provider ecosystem. What we're trying to do is move the ball a little bit farther down the path. And what that means is we're trying to say to ourselves, how would we actually user-proof an individual outside of the portal? Because now a patient has to log in to 10 different portals to get their data from 10 different providers. We don't want to do that anymore. We actually want to do a push-button access to user-proof someone, authenticate them, go get their records, and aggregate them into the actual individual's mobile device. So what's great about this is that we're working with a number of organizations that are leading the way in trying to user-proof individuals. Did you know, I just found this out recently, that many of the EHR vendors have actually delegated their registration portal to their clients in order for them to customize that at the point of entry? Very fascinating, isn't it? That means the reason we have a patient matching problem, one of the reasons, is it's very difficult to try to get the right access to the data at the point of registration, because it's not standardized across this. So we're looking at ways we can user-proof it. We're trying to follow the NIST standards that were released last summer, that will be finalized this summer, and we're saying that based on what was in the TEFCA, what is an IAL2 or AAL2 standard? On our website, you can read more about the comments we made last August in encouraging the ONC to do an IAL AAL2 standard as the way to user-proof them. That open standard will allow a robust economy of user-proofing vendors to be able to say, you are who you say you are, I'm going to give you a digital credential, and I don't need blockchain to do it. Come on, there's supposed to be laughter on a technology conference, and I mentioned the word blockchain, we're only 10 minutes in. We can do this without it. We can actually find ways that we can ensure that it takes place using the NIST standards that were actually released last summer. Number 2, how do we create a trust framework outside of HIPAA that allows the Federation of Trusted Identities and application endorsements? This means that as there an opportunity for us to be able to ensure that once a person receives a federated trusted credential, that trusted credential could then be federated across specific apps or specific EHR systems. The idea being that you have a specific federated, that credential is trusted, and that trust framework allows for that credential to be shared back and forth. This is very new in the sense that it is kind of a new concept related to how we would look at identity proofing, but it's important that we can federate that. Based on I won't bore you with the details, the FICAM standards, we only need to do that once every 9 years. So if you receive a trusted credential in banking, or you receive a trusted credential from your health plan, or you receive a trusted credential from your EHR vendor or anyone else for that matter, and it follows the NIST guidelines and is certified, you can use that in any industry in the country. That's the goal, is finding out ways that we can ensure that we have a digital ID, almost like a digital DMV type credential. Number 3, how do we securely authenticate individuals using multi-factor authentication without the need for a username and password? There is a way to authenticate into an application without the need for a username and password. Apple calls it Touch ID. You probably have seen it, right? Related to what's going on. The open standard for what this looks like is specifically called the FIDO Alliance. We support what they're doing. We're excited about what they're doing. And what we have been told is within the next 12 to 18 months, that standard, which uses the combination of biometrics on your hand, your finger, your thumb, and cryptography, a cryptographic key that's actually in the phone itself, the combination of those two things actually authenticates you into the application. No user password is needed, and that phone actually acts as that secure key. That's exciting, because now we can actually secure the data even more than it's secured today in the patient portal. The combination of user-proofing the individual and knowing for sure who they are and having a federated trusted credential, and the ability to authenticate that individual provides that ability to securely do that across systems. Number 4, how do we record match something? How do we record match using the existing demographic data in the consumer API? We have record locator services, which is awesome. But we also have the opportunity as well to be able to record match using the consumer API, the demographic information that's in the consumer API. So you can see this on our Twitter feed, at CARIN Alliance. We have, through our partners at Alliance for Better Health, has issued an RFP for anyone in this room to build an open source utility that actually leverages the ability to do record matching using the FHIR resource itself. We would love for that to happen. They have money to pay people to do this. The only caveat is they want it to be open source so that organizations like the Alliance for Better Health, which is a DISRIP in New York, can be able to exchange data with other non-covered entities such as social determinant organizations and others. This is the meaning that it's happening. So in addition to us solving the issue of getting data to consumers, we're also solving the issue of data getting to non-covered entities as well. Final point. How do we record that consumer's electronic requests for their data and their preferences for which third parties to send their data and the requirements for how it should be handled? What does that mean? It means that when I get access to my data and I want to share that data with others, I want to find a way in which I can federate my specific preferences to other areas within the healthcare industry. Or within specifically the app world itself. What does the federation of a patient's preferences actually look like? We're asking that question. We don't know specifically if we truly can answer that question or if it makes sense from a data provenance perspective, but it's something that we're looking at very closely. Again, keep in mind, our goal is to remove the political, the economic, the business, and the technological barriers to exchanging data between covered entities and to consumers or other non-covered entities. And we're really proud to make that happen. We're really excited to make that happen. So without further ado, we're going to move to the Apple demonstration. And my friend Ricky Bloomfield is here from Apple, which we're really excited about. This is the only place in the entire HIMSS community that you can see Apple on stage, right? We're very excited about that.
You said it.
That's right. So we're excited.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. This is an incredibly exciting time, I think. I feel like the ability to empower consumers with their own health information is becoming palpable. And I think it's happening, and it's going to continue to happen. So I'm super excited to share this with you today. I'm also a little bit nervous because the Wi-Fi here is a little bit spotty. So this is the joy of the live demo, right? So let's go ahead and start it without further ado. Those of you who may not be familiar with the Health app, I'm not going to go into detail, but this already exists on your phone if you have an iOS device. And it has the ability to track and to record all the health information securely on your device. What we've done is add the ability for consumers to connect to their health system directly. And that's through this health records functionality right here. This is part of the iOS 11.3 beta program right now. So if you look on your phone and you don't see it there, that's why. If you would like to participate and use this today, you can do that. Just go to beta.apple.com and enroll there, and you'll be able to test this out when you go home tonight or during dinner or whenever else you want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's a good sign. It loaded right away. So right here, we announced this in January with 12 health systems. We now have over twice that listed here. And this list is growing quickly. And the feedback that we've gotten since we announced this has been phenomenal. People are really excited to be a part of this because they want to empower consumers with their health information. So as part of this list, you can search for your health system. And consumers might not always know the brand name of the health system they went to. They might just remember the location. So for example, if I search here for San Bernardino, I can find a location that was in San Bernardino or is called St. Bernardine Medical Center, and I can choose that if I don't remember that it's a Dignity Health System, for example. And we really want to make it easy for consumers to find their health system, no matter how they want to do that. So right now I'm going to tap on Dignity Health System right here. And this is a health system that uses the Cerner EHR. and I will log in. So I am showing you my actual data right now. Full disclosure, full transparency. And I'm going to authorize this. And so right now, the data so there's a direct connection. You can see it's already downloaded. A direct connection was made from my phone to Dignity's health system. This did not transit any Apple infrastructure in between. So it's a direct, encrypted, private connection directly to the health system, and the data is downloaded securely to my device only. It doesn't go anywhere else unless I tell it to. So when I tap on the health app now, you'll see it's downloaded a number of health records. But there's more. So I've actually have had visits at other health systems. So I'm going to add a couple more to show you that. There we go. So I'm going to go to UNC. So UNC is a health system that uses the Epic EHR.
Nice Face ID too, Ricky. I like it. Very nice.
Thank you.
It's good.
All right. So now I have UNC added, and it's just downloaded those records. And so now I'm going to add one more.
Is that going to be Duke, Ricky?
Would you like it to be?
I'd love it to be Duke because they played a basketball game recently and they don't like each other. Duke and North Carolina aren't really big fans of each other. So they may not share data today. I don't know if they do or not, but they certainly don't like each other in basketball, right?
It was a good game on Saturday.
It was a good game.
You saw the game.
Well, you know, the Duke grad says that it was a great game, right? That's good.
All right. So now I'm signing into Duke.
So you're telling me at a touch of a button you can get actual rival information downloaded to your phone? Two competing health systems in the same market you can actually download with a touch of a button? Is that true?
So now I have Ryan giving my presentation for me.
That's amazing.
I have a backseat presenter. This is great. So as Ryan was pointing out, if we could just pause here for a second and just think about what happened. So we now have multiple health systems from different major EHR systems coexisting peacefully and interoperating here on this personal health record. And not only do we have two major EHR systems working together, but we have Duke and UNC working together, which may be more impressive depending on your perspective. So what does this mean? So I now have all my data securely on my device, and I can view the data. So you can see I have an albuterol inhaler there. And this is a longitudinal view of the data based on time. It has all the information from all of these health systems captured together. I can also search. So if I want to pull up cholesterol, for example, I can do that and see just the cholesterol values. You can see for the labs, we do graph those when we receive the reference range from the health system. We can't guess what the reference range is. We need to know that information. And if I tap on one of these, LDL, for example, you can see a detailed view, gives you more information about that lab. This particular lab happened to include a note along with the lab that we're displaying here. And we have some other helpful information. And then at the bottom, I can actually tap on this and show you the source FHIR data. So we are obviously using FHIR for this. We require that health systems participate in and implement the Argonaut implementation guide of FHIR. And we don't think many consumers will want to access this raw information. But the reason we include it there is because we feel very strongly that we need to be completely transparent with the information that's on the user's phone so they can see everything that's on the device. And so this is part of our philosophy that permeates everything that we do within health, is that we want it to be completely transparent. So to search for another data type here, you can see if I search for BUN, there's one value here that's slightly out of range, and you can see what that looks like. You can also see that there are two values here from two different health systems, both from Dignity as well as UNC. You can see that the reference ranges are actually different for each one, which is very common. to see that. But here are the values. You can see the title is the same. Otherwise, you can view the data together very simply. And so that's the case with all of these different data types. In addition to having the all records view, you can view the data one category at a time. So if I wanted to view just the labs, for example, I can do that. And I can show all the labs here. Quite a few labs that are there. Same thing with medications, for example. Conditions, vital signs, it's all there. And you can see that it's also color-coded based on data type to make it really easy to identify one data type versus the other. And that's really it. The other point that I wanted to make is that there's a persistent, enduring connection that's created between your app and these health systems. While that sounds fairly simple, it completely changes how someone might use and access their health information. The current state is that in order to access your information, you need to log on to every portal that you want to access, and each time you need to do that. And now, when there's new information from these portals, it will be pulled automatically from those health systems, and you'll get a notification that you have new information available. And even if you don't have an internet connection, you will still have access to your information on your phone. Completely changes how you use and access your health information. You always have it with you, and you have it when you need it. So we're super excited about this. This is also a first step. We think it's important to engage the ecosystem, and we're very excited about the response that we've gotten and to see other EHR vendors, other health systems come on board with a standards-based approach supporting the Argonaut implementation guide. And we're also very interested in doing a lot more. And because of that, we are having a shameless plug. Tomorrow at the recruiting fair, we will have a booth if you're interested in learning more about what we do and possibly exploring job opportunities there. Feel free to stop by. We have some other engineers in the audience from our team as well, and we'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you.
So Ricky, does the app cost any money?
No.
There's no money that's involved to change his hands. That's fabulous. One of the other things I wanted to mention too is that the CARIN Alliance is both vendor and technology agnostic. So we have Care Evolution in the back. We've got My Patient Links. There are many other app vendors that have the ability to access this information using the FHIR API that's out there. I'd encourage you to use any or all of those opportunities to be able to download that information. The last thing that I will say is if you want more information, this is our website. That's our Twitter handle. There isn't, I mentioned that RFP that's out there. We would love for you to come up and receive more information on the Alliance. You can find out who's involved in the Alliance. You can also sign the actual pledge itself by going to the website and being able to do that. And then the final thing I would say is if you're an app vendor, our plan on the CARIN Alliance website is to aggregate those FHIR endpoints from every single EMR vendor that's out there that actually publishes those. Epics is out there now. They've been able to publish those FHIR endpoints. Cerner has said they're going to send theirs in the next few weeks. They were almost going to have them ready, but they're close to doing that. Allscripts as well, we're working with them to do it, and Athena and all the others. The idea was to have a common location where those FHIR endpoints could be received so that you can actually gain access to that information on our website. Thank you all. We'll be available for questions and answers following it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.